It's March 2016, and computers have conquered another corner of human endeavor. Lee Sedol, the world's best Go player, has been defeated 3 consecutive times by Google's AlphaGo. Now he's in the 4th game, contemplating his next move. He places the stone, move number 78.
This is the hinge of the game.
Oh, look at that move. That's an exciting move.
Look, basically,
he found the wedge.
Whoa, it'd be so cool if that works.
AlphaGo stumbles in its response and the world champion takes advantage. He wins the 4th game, something that, after each passing loss, had seemed increasingly unlikely. Chinese commentator Gu Li exclaimed in response to the move that it was the hand of God. How else could man expect to defeat the machine? There's a paradox in automation. The machines are always getting better, yet they can never be trusted. They are still the product of humans. One wrong keystroke, and something that we expect to be superior becomes a laughingstock. In 2012, Knight Capital, essentially a trading platform, deploys some new code. What they put on 7 of their 8 servers is fine, but that other one, at 9:30, the market opens and orders begin flowing through. A few minutes later, Knight receives a call from the New York Stock Exchange alerting them that something seems to be wrong. The team scrambles, and by 9:58, they figure it out. It's only 28 minutes, but that's 28 minutes at the speed of information. They executed over 4 million trades in 154 stocks, totaling more than 397 million shares. And during that time, Knight was essentially buying high and selling low. The firm loses $440 million. Other times, the instructions in the algorithms are fine, but the environment is unprecedented. During March of 2020, bond market traders turned off their machines and resorted to calling one another on the phone. They couldn't trust the machines to operate if nothing in their training looked like the times they were living in. As one manager explained, "We don't have a fully automated trading desk for a reason. I want our traders to have a sense of what's going on in the market." This is the sentiment that, many years before, led to one of the greatest sells in market history, a rarity since all you ever hear about are the great buys. In 1987, Jim Cramer, still just a fund manager, is feeling nervous about the market. An analyst from another firm corroborates his feelings and tells him the market is going to crash. It does. On the day of what is by far the largest market drop in history, Cramer's fund is holding only cash and some Johnson & Johnson puts. His only regret was not buying the dip. Oh, and by the way, for good measure, he marries the analyst who made the prediction. Cramer says, the lesson to these quant people is that they have too much faith in prices, in the market's ability to value stocks. Jim Simons is one of these quant people. He's the king of quants, really, and arguably the greatest investor of all time. Look at these absolutely insane returns of his medallion fund, even after accounting for the fact that the fees are larger than anything you'll ever see anywhere. Even Simons, though, has recognized that the algorithms have limits. It's the summer of 2007 and the market experiences something known as the quant quake. Basically, a bunch of quant funds unknowingly had on the same trades and were using insane leverage. When one had to start selling, it created a near-death spiral of liquidations. Medallion starts taking on enormous losses at extraordinary speed. And in defiance of nearly all of his top generals, who are advising that they trust the system they've built and see this moment even as an opportunity, Simons begins downsizing positions. He seems to understand something that the others don't. He can afford to look like a fool and run from opportunity, but he cannot afford to be the fool who allowed his firm to get margin called to 0. Our job is to survive, he says, which they do. They then go on to return 73% after fees that year. It's 2010, and during the flash crash, Jim Cramer makes the call live on CNBC that he'd wished he'd made in 1987.
P&G is now down 25%.
Oh, well, if that's true. If that stock is there, you just go and buy it.
Something else that's
I'll pay
happened, by
a
the way.
49 and a quarter bid for 50,000 Procter if I were at my hedge fund. I mean, this is very much 1987.
He says he'd be buying into what he sees as a totally nonsensical dip. He only needs to wait a few seconds, and he's proven correct. Experience, as they say, is the best teacher. And this is exactly how the machines learn as well. It's 2022 now, and bond yields are moving like penny stocks. But traders aren't making deals over the phone anymore. They've added the data from 2020 into their databases and are better prepared to deal with what they're seeing in markets. We're getting smarter on an individual basis, but they're getting smarter faster than we could possibly imagine. Simons has said that he'd make the same decision again, but it's possible that his math has ascended to the point where he'll never even have to. It's 1997, and Garry Kasparov faces off against IBM's Deep Blue. Kasparov wins game 1, but then something happens. On move 36 of game 2, Deep Blue surprises him with the type of move he hasn't seen a machine make before. This tilts him. He loses the game and eventually the match, despite many experts thinking that at the time he was still likely the superior player. In the press conference after the game, Kasparov referenced an infamous moment in sport.
If I'm reading you correctly, Kasparov, or maybe I'm speaking out of turn, do you think there may be some kind of human intervention on the part of this game, or is there a suggestion of the possibility?
It reminds me of famous goal of Maradona scored against England in '86. You know, he said it was a hand of God.
He felt that move 36 could only have been made by the hand of God, insinuating that the program had received outside assistance. Imagine the acceleration. Deep Blue must have had help from a higher power to defeat Kasparov, while Seidel needed a miracle to win a single game against AlphaGo. In the mere 19 years in between, the algorithms have forced God to switch sides. They're better than us, and they're getting better. But they also are us, which is something that should not be taken for granted. Thanks for watching, guys.